There's this funny story about this pile of cash. It's motion pictures money, so this is not real money, but it looks very real. And I ordered this $30,000 for a video that I wanted to make when Bitcoin crashed the $30,000 mark for one piece of this digital gold. Since then, it went absolutely nuts. I mean, it's one of the best performing assets, not only since decades, because it makes more than 200% continuously every single year, but also the explosion since about end of last year, it's absolutely insane. I mean, you know, obviously the March prices and the crisis gave Bitcoin a hard time when we reached about 5,000. But then, since then, you could 10x your money, you know, from 5,200 to now approximately, you know, 54,000 is about 10x. So it's absolutely insane. And I hope you are part of that. And, you know, when talking about Bitcoin, then you need to understand that I feel and I empathize those companies like Square that put, you know, millions and millions of dollars into Bitcoin and this asset of the future that cannot be frauded. And then you have MicroStrategy, who absolutely went nuts and put $1 billion of dollars into Bitcoin. And then you had Elon Musk with Tesla putting about 7% of its all cash reserve into this digital asset. And I actually was quite amazed how Bitcoin held up the last couple of days, while we had a huge correction over the overall stock market and specifically tech stocks. Then, you know, you have seen that Bitcoin actually hold it up quite nicely. So it's seems that with more and more time, it's get more and more mature. And you see also, you know, according to the article into the description, which we will talk about in a second, that, you know, more and more big banks and, you know, banks or analysts at Citibank, for example, say they see the Bitcoin price at $400,000. And I personally think that latest next year we will see, or maybe already in the end of this year, because this year is still young, we might see a $100,000 Bitcoin. All right. The beauty about this is that, you know, for some people, they like to invest into this digital asset. Some people go for altcoins, but there's also an opportunity to invest in stocks that are connected quite directly to the outcome of Bitcoin. And this is exactly what we will talk about today. CleanSpark is a Bitcoin miner, and the absolutely almost 20 times gain on the stock price just in this year is absolutely insane. Okay, they are increasing the revenue on a different kind of universe. I mean, we are talking about hundreds and hundreds of percentage gain of revenue just in this year. Okay, so let's dive into the article right now. So in this article, you will see that there's a couple of different points why CleanSpark is so interesting. And I find number 5 quite interesting, because you need to understand that mining is very, very energy intensive, and they are doing quite insignificant acquisitions that, you know, allow them to be even more lower cost in energy consumption, which then gives them a fantastic way to get even more profitable, right? So here number 5, for example, says CleanSpark recently acquired ATL data centers in an all-stock transaction. This means that, you know, they said, okay, we will buy your company, and instead of that we putting cash on the table, we actually give you stock of our company, which is great, specifically when the stock is rising so much, so there's very less dilution for existing shareholders. And reportedly, the company expects to increase Bitcoin production while lowering total energy costs, thereby maximizing overall profitability. So this is, you know, exactly the great way, because as the company gets bigger and bigger, it's fantastic to see that they are doing exactly these acquisitions and mergers to make sure that they keep on going, because as higher the price rise, as more miners out there. So let's dive into the stock chart, because it's absolutely crazy. All right, let's look into CleanSpark, the chart and the stock. And guys, we are not talking about a penny stock here anymore, at least, right? I mean, the gain on the stock so far this last 12 months is absolutely incredible. I mean, look at this. Beginning of March 2020, with the overall crisis that we went through, right, on the financial markets, the stock was at $1.13, all right? This is now a totally different game. The stock went even up to 38, so you could 40 times your money almost, and now it's hovering somewhere around 22, 26 as of this recording, pre-market even 27. So you can see here, this is something that is absolutely fantastic. I mean, this kind of gain is something that Netflix stock, for example, had to work through a 10-year period. All right, but let's dive into some other facts here on this, because you can see here the 52-week range, which we just talked about, was the lowest price for this stock was even just below $1, and you need to consider that a penny stock is actually when you're talking about the stock that is up to $5 per share. And as you can see, the highest point that we got this year in the last 52 weeks was 42.6. And now you're asking, okay, a company with a market cap of $654 million, like what was the reason for that? Obviously, the first one, as a Bitcoin miner, is obviously the rising interest into the crypto world and into the Bitcoin price. So I will show you here some very interesting correlation, because now here we are into the chart, and then you can see if I put here into the chart of Bitcoin, and let's say we make the Bitcoin orange because it's the orange oak, right? You can see here that it's pretty much quietly copy the movement of, let me just switch off here the Bollinger Bands so it will be more clear. Here we go. So here you can see in the beginning of 2021 we had the spike in Bitcoin price, and then a little bit of a, let's say, I would say a small correction, and exactly the same way you can see here the pattern into CleanSpark stock price. All right, so you can see here the correlation is quite significantly, obviously, because as higher the Bitcoin price, as better for CleanSpark. And if we are all agreeing that this is just the beginning for the Bitcoin, then obviously you can see where this thing can go. Now, on the other side, what is also fascinating is the financials, okay? So a company that is like a hyper growth company obviously is gaining of attention. And look at that, from 2018 we could 9 times the revenue, and then from 2019 to 2020 even again more than double. And apparently, according to the article into the description and in the link below in the comments, you are seeing that they are expecting a 300% gain in the revenue for this year. So very exciting times for CleanSpark. And yeah, let's dive into the conclusion of this video. So in the conclusion, it's quite interesting, because it reminds me of the saying, instead of going to, and this was, to the times where people mined real gold and there was a gold rush, and people went into San Francisco to, go for gold digging. And this over the last couple of years got a different meaning, gold digging, right? But it's interesting that you can make always money on both ends. So you can go for the gold, right? Or you are going for the mining and mining equipment, right? There's people, they got super rich by buying and selling mining equipment. They didn't went for the real gold, they just sold the mining equipment. And something like this, as a fat seat, as a summary here in this video, I can tell you that you don't have to go for the real asset. You can also go for some infrastructure connected to it. And I think, this is maybe something interesting for you. Make always your own research, guys. This is also to mention a sponsored video, so I never, you know, in all my videos, never advise you to buy or sell a stock. So make sure you own your information by your own. And I wish that you leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this company. And we see each other later on with Virgin Galactic Fridays.